afternoon again. So good afternoon, everyone. If you are here, please, I said earlier on that today we have educators and they don't like it when they are teaching and you are not talking. Educators like feedback. So as they are talking, as they are teaching, they need you telling them, we hear you, ma. We hear you, ma. We hear you, ma. So please, if you're in the house, say something in the comments. Let us know you are here. Say hello. Make our guests welcome. These are people who are busy, as in they are taking time from their tight schedule just to come and make a difference here. Me, I am not taking this for granted. And if you are my people, please don't take this for granted. So I said in my post earlier today that the people that I have lined up today, these super intelligent women, are people who have education from the depth of their hearts. So whether they are educating at the primary level or early years level or doing it as experts in the financial scene or whatever, but these are people that are educators from their heart. And this particular person, and I said I've worked with each of them at one point or the other. Ronke Oyenuga, our guest for today, is someone that I have worked with for God knows how long. And this person, I don't know, she doesn't even know this, but see, how I spoke with my kids when they started coming was borrowed from Ronke. So we used to be colleagues in the bank, back in the day. So we used to be colleagues in the bank, and I remember those days. I used to be in customer service, and she was in another unit. And then she would come around to the banking hall where we were, and she would speak with her son. I think he was about 2 or so, maybe even less than that. She would speak with him like an adult. Like she will, as in, you can tell that the child is not saying anything serious, but you will hear her. She will explain to him why she isn't there. She will tell him why she's coming back. She will speak with him, and I'm like, okay. So when my kids came, before they came, I knew that we would talk like this from the very beginning. And so when she left and started, a center as an educator, before I even got pregnant, I knew where I was going to drop my kids because I knew where I was going to be. I knew that aligning with my values and aligning with values basically, and aligning with someone that can carry the same vision that I have as a parent was very, very important. So let me stop talking. I had her profile on the group earlier on, so I want to believe that we have read the profile, so we won't go down talking about, because if we want to talk about our profile, we'll use half the time talking about this person. So I'm just going to bring her right on screen. So please, let's make some noise for the beautiful, amazing, everything Ronke Oyenuga. Good afternoon, ma'am. Oh, it's good evening. Okay, good evening. How are you today? Sorry that we're making you do this because I know how crazy it gets, in school, and because you're very hands-on and you were there every time, so I know you need to run home and rest. And yet I bring this and you decide to do this with us. We don't take it for granted at all. So thank you very much for honoring us. We do not take it for granted. All right. So I'm just going to leave the screen and allow you to take it away. So Ronke is going to be talking to us today about education. Education and how this affects, or the kind of education that our children of the next generation, we call them the Alpha generation and the Gen Z. Okay. So she will tell us what that is for those of us who have never heard that there's a generation like this. All right, people. So get your jotter, get your notepad if you have to, or sit pretty like I'm sitting and start taking notes. All right, ma'am, take it away.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, sis. Thank you for the honor of this invitation. I do not take it for granted at all. And yes, it's a very long gist about how long our journey has been since her. Good afternoon, participants. I'm going to be talking today about the role that education plays, especially in our world and regarding our children at this very crucial periods of their lives, and also in our world as well. First, I would like to say that there is no time ever in the history of the world that the collaboration between school and home is so important as it is right now. The core definition of education is basically the systematic giving of instruction, either to give it or to receive it. So basically, education is all about enlightenment. And so when we say someone is educated, we're saying that someone is enlightened. And we all know that because the world is becoming a global village now, it's very crucial that our children are enlightened and that learning is very holistic. You would notice that there is a whole lot going on now regarding intelligence, like emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence. You will see that there are lots of trainings regarding coaching, positivity, self-esteem, and things like that. The truth now is that we are dealing with a peculiar generation. And it's going to be very tough for me to talk about the role education plays without me speaking also about how that impacts parenting, because the two actually go together. In fact, in Hebrew, the teacher and the parent actually mean the same thing, because moral and horin both mean to teach and to instruct, meaning that even though there is an organized curriculum that is running in the school, there also has to be a plan, a thought process that guides everything that we do. And it is so beautiful when school and home work together. For the outer generation, they are the children that we gave birth to from 2010. So they are more like the core new generation of children that we have. And then you now have the Gen Z, which are like the 2000s. Those are like the Gen Z, they are like the Zoomers. So what we, as their parents, are actually IT migrants, meaning that we migrated to technology. But these children, both Gen Z and Alpha generation, are IT native, meaning that innately they understand technology. That's why you give a 1-year-old the tablets, the child navigates through it. You give a 5-year-old the computer or your phone, they know exactly how to decode it because they are IT natives. We are migrants. And the mode of education that connects with this generation of children is completely different from ours. Ours was very detached. Hierarchy was clearly defined. We were very afraid of our teachers. Education was more rote, meaning that we just wanted to do school to pass. But now, we're not doing school to pass only. We have to do school to know how to lead our lives. We're doing education now to learn. So it's a totally different thing now, because education in our time, we would just study from the subject. The way the teachers were actually teaching us from the first class, the teacher is already talking about your exam and how you don't listen in my class, you're just going to fail. So the entire scheme of what education needs to provide is completely different from ours. And also, as parents,
sorry, sis, 1 second. Sorry, sis. Do you have like two of your devices on? There's something,
Oh
there's an
no.
interference.
Oh, there
It's
is.
interfering with your sound.
Oh.
Okay, let's check.
Um, I've got only my phone here. So
Oh,
is there
okay.
an echo?
Yeah, there's a bit of an, it's like shaky, 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 shaky. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Your
Could
voice
it
is
be the way my being?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's okay, but it's not that bad. So if it's something that we
No,
can
let
just
me
figure
let me
out.
see if I can fix it.
Okay.
Uh, just a
All right,
moment.
sorry, people, just give her 1 minute so we can hear very well. Yeah, it's like an
Okay.
echo, right, Mariam? Sorry, now we're see now the educator is still at work.
Okay. Sorry, almost sold the minute. So, is it better now?
Yes, I can hear you better.
Is it better?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that. Sorry for the
Oh no, that's
inconveniences.
fine.
All right.
I just want to be sure it's fine before I go ahead.
It's better. It's better.
It's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about mix up. So I was saying that. Oh, where did I stop? Sorry about. Um, I was saying that the children that we have in this generation, the essence of education to them is completely different from ours. And it's going to be very difficult to properly educate a child who is a Gen Z or in the alpha generation without great parental support and some sort of culture in the family. Um, Starting from how we draw the curriculum, our children aren't learning anymore. It's all about learning. And the entire scope of the curriculum has completely changed because for you to function in the world where this alpha generation and the Gen Z will play, it is not only about intellect, it is also about practical wisdom. And so our children need to understand that as I get you educated in a school that teaches relevant skills, it is also important for you to understand what conversion means. When I talk about conversion, I'm saying that all of the education that I'm getting and all of the opportunities available to me should be converted into a life that is worthwhile and that is also contributing to the well-being of humanity. You would realize that the whole lot about corporate social responsibility, um, humanitarian services, and things like that have come into play. Eco-friendly stuff, global awareness, being sure that you're not adding to pollution and things like that. Means that there is a sense that I should be a valuable member of the global community. It's also that I'm not seeing myself as only a Nigerian. I'm seeing myself as a global citizen. Where whatever I do, the footprint of whatever I do spread across the world. I mean, look at the COVID. It broke out somewhere in Wuhan, and we're still at it. And that tells us that our footprints are not localized anymore. They are actually globalized. And so the role that education plays now is more of relevance in the sense that skills that are relevant to the world that our children will be playing in are the skills that are really important. And so I know that for parents listening to me, they're thinking, what are these fields? And why are these fields important? The truth is that we would realize that with our own generation, education wasn't total. And I would explain why. A good number of us left the university or even secondary school, but couldn't still like write creatively, put our thoughts to writing. Some of us didn't understand what entrepreneurship was all about. Some of us didn't understand negotiation. Some of us didn't understand persuasion. Some of us didn't understand communication skills. Some of us are still very nervous when it comes to putting our thoughts together to communicate that to an audience and communicate it convincingly. And so these are the things now that apart from the fact that we're teaching the children to know certain concepts, we're ensuring that this thing also leads to the acquisition of life skills, like interpersonal skills, like public speaking skills, like negotiation skills, like the power of persuasion, like emotional intelligence, like cultural intelligence. And so we're going to realize now that education isn't just go past and I go. The children need to understand why certain concepts are taught. You know, when we were in school, we didn't know why. So, for example, if we're teaching economics to children in secondary, we don't just say economics is this. We have to let our children know why we teach what we teach and the relevance of what we're teaching you now to your future, and how all of these things tie up into a beautiful look of creating a human being who is valuable to our world. Another part of education that is also important, especially to this Gen Z and this alpha generation, is a clear sense of judgment of what is right and what is wrong, and being able to speak true to what they believe. So what we realize is that with this generation of children, there is a whole lot of gray areas, even in little things as respect. Respect is universal. Honor is universal. A sense of responsibility is universal. It's not a localized ethical standard. Honor, honor is universal. So these things are not, oh, because I'm from this part of Africa, or I'm from this part of the world, I do not know how to honor people, or I do not know how to show respect, or I do not know what I need to do to earn respect. And so these are some of the things that I call the seat of wisdom when it comes to enlightening the mind of a child. That they understand that to you, what is your truth? Because with children in this generation, there's a lot of swaying. And so when we have some of our reading and comprehension classes, we also bring out the values in all the things we read. And what are their thoughts? And what sense of judgment do they have to it? If this were to be you, what would you do? To you, do you think this is fair? Do you think this is true? Do you think this is humane? And these are some of so that you appeal to the conscience of the child as they grow up. Because it's very easy for the children to just say, oh, it's free. For some parents as well, we also fall into this because we raise our children thinking that a lot of things should be great. And the truth is that when you leave a child to chance, then you're leaving them to nothing. Because you would raise children who do not have the sense of originality. But if this is where the world moves, then we move there. And like I said at the beginning of my conversation, it's very tough for me to separate education in school from home. They both go hand in hand. Because if the school is saying something and the parents do not believe in what the school stands for, once the child gets home, that thing gets negated. And so the child is confused. And so I tell parents, when you want to choose the kind of education that you want for your child, you need to ask yourself, who am I? Who are we as a family? What kind of child do I want to raise? And so what kind of school is in sync with my thought process regarding how I want to raise my child? What kind of socialization do I want for my child? And so I think that when parents are making inquiries, they ask these questions. You should ask about the ethos of that school. You should ask about the sense. Exactly, I mean, it's about the ethos. Because in every school, there is the written curriculum and there is the unwritten curriculum. The unwritten part of the curriculum is actually the part that shapes your child. The part that is not expressly written in paper, but it's about the vision, it's about the mission, it's about the core values of that school. Because whether directly or indirectly, your child is going to be enlightened through that medium. The vision of the school, the mission of the school, and the core values of the school. And so, for parents who are committed to raising a total child, you need to understand that your school, your child's school, plays a vital role in shaping your child. Absolutely. Because the kind of enlightenment, the quality of correction, the quality of guidance, the quality of direction that your child gets from the school absolutely shapes your child. And it's always such a beautiful thing when both work together. When you're sure that, oh, the two and I are on the same page. Now, when you do find a school that isn't in sync in some areas, parents need to be clear about the high points of the school and the areas where they, as parents, must fill those gaps to be sure that we are all on the same page. So there wouldn't be a school that would give you 100% of what you want, but you can find schools that are close. And whatever gaps there are to it, a parent must not be willing. You must be committed to fill it. Because this Gen Z and Alpha generation, parents, you have to roll up your sleeves. And the powerful tool that works with this generation of children is consistency. The children must be very, very clear about what you are doing and what your value system is as a family. Or else everything will be great. So in guiding them, in telling them about it, first they need to know why they are going to the school they are going to. So there has to be constant communication and conversation between the school and the children. What happens during the assembly? What happens in the classroom? And with this generation of children, a vital part In fact, the core of their being is their voice. So this generation of children cannot be silent. You know, when we had what was that? The protest. You know, the slang going on in Lagos was Sorosoke, meaning that you have to speak up. In education now, the voice of the child matters. Also because the age, the disease of the generation that we are in, with the parents, the children, Alpha generation, Gen Z, all of us, the disease of this age is mental ill health. So it is very easy for a child whose voice is silenced to just be suicidal. It is very easy for, you know, we, whether there's attention or no attention, we roll by. We are not good all by ourselves. Not this one. Haven't you even noticed that you were able to take something, some form of verbal bullying in your secondary school, but you can't take it now? Almost more like when someone says something to you now. I'm talking about the parents now. You process it, you over process it. You're asking, why did the person say this to me? What did she mean? Why did she treat me that way? Why? Because with all the global warming and everything that is going on, almost everything that happens to you now impacts your mental state. So schools now can't be as brash as they used to be. You can't be rough with your children. You can't talk, you can't say, oh, corporal punishment. Now is about negotiation. You need to seek to understand them as much as they seek to be understood. So the trick to educating these children now is conversation. You know, when we were growing up, teaching was more like monologue. The teacher just goes on. The teacher just goes on, and then the children are responding. Oh no! Now even at the school, we get feedback from the children, and if a child says, "This teacher makes me feel this way," we take it seriously. And so, with parents of this age, parents need to understand that the voice of the child is important. Because if that child is silenced, we deny ourselves that opportunity of knowing what's going on in their minds. And the only major gift you can have as a parent is to know what's going on in your child. You need to do it. And you can only do it when there is a relationship. So the teachers know. And when we also go out to train teachers, we say it. You cannot get through to a child that you have not connected with. Once there is a wall, the children are very happy to be born into their shell. And once they withdraw, you don't know what's going on in their world, and you don't know how their mental states. You don't know what form of interpretations go on in their world. And that is particularly tricky and dangerous because this particular age of children see only gray. When they go to church, they see gray. When they go to mosque, they see gray. If you tell them to go to a fellowship with them, they see gray. In fact, when they are in school, they see gray. Because they are asking you why, what's exactly the essence of this education, wake up every day? Because they've been raised to be critical thinkers. So they query everything. So if parents are not on a higher intellectual plane to let the children know why they need to do certain things, then everything will be great to them. If a child is asked to have vegetables, you need to let them know why. If you tell them drink water often, you need to drink water about 3 times a day, you need to be hydrated, you need to tell them why. So when parents don't know what's going on in the world of their children, or teachers don't know what's going on in the world of their children, we are all lost. And there is nothing as dangerous as leaving those children to chance. So there have to be clearly defined moments. First, of connection. There has to be connection with teachers and their students. If a child is not happy to come to school, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. Because if that child is not happy to come to school, there is nothing you can get from that child. That child is not working, you withdraw, you can't get to them, and the only easy escape route they have is to create a wall. They create a wall, and then nothing is happening, and they go blind. And then they go to their games, and if you get so tough as a parent and you withdraw the game, it's okay. They just do some body movements. They are not clear about what they go to do. They don't know what this translates to in their future, and that's it. So, for example, in our school, everything we do, we explain why, and we tell them the implications, and why turning in your work on time is important. Because if you don't learn that now, when you get to the world of work, you're going to be seen as inefficient. So it's important that we let our children know how these things translate into their future. And honestly, parents, teachers, there is no other time that communication is important than now to those children. Because if you don't tell them about whatever it is, whether sex, whether drugs, whether their sexuality in terms of their gender awareness, the world is ready to provide those children with information. And so these things have to be clearly defined in school. And so in schools, what is your thought process around sexuality education? If this is a good thing when it comes to academics, then it gives you feedback as a parent that in the area of sexuality education, I've got work to do. If there is no room for pastoral care, guidance and counseling, when we were in school, guidance and counseling was like the department that is just there. In fact, those who study guidance and counseling in school are like they're not as brilliant as doctors. That is the perfection of this age. It's very tough now for a school to survive without a pastoral care department. Because someone has to intelligently speak to the minds of the children. If, for example, they verbally abuse a classmate or they don't say something nasty to the classmate, it's not only about saying say sorry. No. If you've called your classmate a goat, you have imputed the mental state, confidence, and self-esteem of your classmate, and you're harming your classmate. And that automatically automatically means that you're being abused. And so the child is so bad is wondering, did I say I this child is serious like this? Because if it's not serious at this age, you see how little bits of, those, maybe some of us who grew up in Nigeria, just with our friends, and then you go to work in an international organization, and a classmate, maybe a colleague is just joking, and just go like, good. And the next thing HR is calling you, and you're wondering, what did I just say? So the truth is that communication skills have become very integral, where the children know to communicate with one another. They understand the role that interpersonal skills play. They understand how to negotiate. They understand the importance of conversion. How all of the things I'm learning and all of these skills I'm acquiring have to be converted into a well life where I am seen as a valuable member of a society. So I'm not just existing. And another thing that we need to drum into the children in the world of education and parenting is the importance of originality. So we need to know our children for us to guide them, whether in the school or at home. You need to know them. And you can't know a child that you're not connecting with. So when, for example, when they want to choose their musical instrument, it's not that the coach just goes, oh, apart from the general one, which is the recorder in our school, for example, it's a conversation. Why don't you like to play the piano? Yes, how about the violin? And then you just in front of the children and say, I just want to play the drum, or I just want the flute. In fact, some of them have asked, why French classes? And we've told them that you're having French classes because of the importance of having a second internationally accepted language. And so when you get into an organization and you are multilingual, you can speak your native language, then it's an added advantage. And some of them would ask, why French? Why not German? Why not Spanish? And then we also tell them, oh, you know that the countries that border Nigeria, for example, in West Africa, are predominantly francophone countries. So it's easier for us to find teachers who are more grounded in French than in German. So you realize that these children ask questions. They want to know why you're doing what you're doing and why they have to do what they've been asked to do and the implications and the consequences. And so the role that education plays in the world of this Gen Z and Alpha generation is that of relevant enlightenment through connection. And the word to be underlined there is relevant and connection. Because if you're not connecting with them, you cannot enlighten them. And you cannot also enlighten them or teach them things that are outdated, that are not relevant to their world. And that is why schools have moved now from the level of knowledge to skills. Knowledge has to be translated to skills. So yes, it's good, you do great in English, but there are some skills I need. This has to convert to how you speak, how you write, and how you conduct yourself. So your English class, the summary of the quality of English, your English class is in the quality of your learning, the quality of your writing, or the quality of your speaking. So it's translating to skills. Unlike when we were in school, we just do singular, plural, past tense, past participle, things like that, and then you just run it through, you put your English, you're good to go. Great. But how does this translate to your creativity? How do you move an idea from your head to paper? How do you move an idea from your head to communicate that effectively and convincingly publicly? And so education now is moving from That's knowledge. And I'm not saying higher. In fact, I need to say this here. You know, it's very easy for parents to think that I'm going to spend the big money when my children get to secondary school or when they get to the university. Parents, early years is foundation. Your child's brain is 75% fully formed by age 3. Primary education is called primary because it is primary. Secondary education is called secondary, meaning you actually can do without it. So I tell parents that the primary school, the early years, that is actually where your child's identity and sense of enlightenment is actually baked. You see, every other thing you do in secondary, you're putting an icing on the cake, decorating that cake. So primary education, I tell parents, secondary, we all think that is where the big thing is. No, not at all. In fact, secondary school is predominantly socialization, global awareness, and then maybe a clear definition of a child's and potentials. But the core of enlightenment of your child happens in early years and primary. That is where your child's mind is stimulated from scratch. And so people think that proper, clearly defined, intense conversations need to happen in the teenage years. Oh no. It happens it happens from preschool. It happens through their primary years. So that when the children are clear about where they're going, what exactly their path is, what my parents are clear about, and like I said at the beginning of this conversation, parents have to be very clear. Parents have to be very clear. There is no gray. And there is nothing like, once I talk to you about honor, about respect. I said at the beginning of this conversation, honor is universal. Respect is universal. Courtesy is universal. A sense of accountability is universal. A sense of great leadership skills is universal. So honor is not something that Igbos do. Since you are Yoruba, you don't need to. No. Respect for one another and for myself, my self-esteem, confidence, these things are universal. And so if you don't, and these are not things that you tell your children once and you forget about. Like I told you, the Alpha generation and the Gen Z, apart from the fact that you're going to reach them through connection, you're going to lay foundations through consistency. Don't give up. These children will not hear you once. They rarely hear you once. If you just talk about it and they just feel like, yes, you have two things. No, and it's not hearing. Like I told you, there is the voice of the child. There is the tone of the voice of the adult, whether at home or in school. So if you yell, they automatically block you off. They don't hear you when you yell. If you're a teacher, you just go, sit down there. I told you. If haven't you noticed that even when you yell, some of them just go to the seat and they just look at you like, okay, so what have you achieved? Clap for yourself. Like seriously, you've done well. So you successfully yelled and you really do feel like an adult. Well done. Bravo. You've done well. But they also, I forgot to mention this, they also do listen. Honestly, parents, teachers, these children, they don't listen to who they do not respect. No. If they don't respect you, They don't think that you have something to offer them intellectually, and something that is reasonable and makes sense in the long run. You can't reach them. They are such a peculiar generation. You know that in our own generation, just because you are an adult, automatically means you can reach me. No, no, no. You see, with this one, when you notice that even when you're having a conversation with them, they're looking at you. And if you look at their eye movement, you would see that they are processing what you're telling them. And by the time for example, when you've done something wrong, by the time you get them to the point where by themselves they're saying, I'm sorry, honestly, you've made a lot of sense and you've appealed to their conscience. If you've not appealed to their conscience and you've not made sense, they're not going to apologize. After all the long conversation we've had, the only thing that you're going to end with is, so would you say sorry? If I want, you get to the point where you're the one telling them, would you say sorry? You've already lost it. So there's very peculiar, delicate, extremely smart, extremely smart generation of children. So with teachers, you have to be intellectually above these children. In fact, they have a way of sampling you as a teacher. Once you get into their class, they're already gauging you. They have a gauge. Once you're teaching them something and you're very basic, like, oh, this teacher. And even as a parent, they know when, oh, my mom is having a very intelligent conversation with me, backed with data, analysis, statistics, information. They go like, oh, mom is clear. Mom is clear about this thing. She's not just having a parenting outburst. You know how we just wake up one day, our children misbehave somewhere, and we just go like, this week I'm going to be a good parent, and then next week I relax again. No, with parents, with children, one has to be consistently authoritative. There is a difference between an authoritative parent and an authoritarian. Authoritarian is like my way or the highway. Authoritative means I'm assertive, but trust me, your voice matters, and we're going to have a negotiation. I hear you, my child. I hear you, my son, but hear me. And in hearing you as the adult, you must be prepared to operate at a higher level of intelligence for you to be able to reach them. So connection, respect, a higher intellectual level absolutely matters to these children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ronke. You've said so much.
You.
I mean, you've said so much. And when you were talking, I was just going back because we started a conference yesterday, and I can hear the same thing, coming up over and over again from the lips of our speakers. Okay, you said something about you talked a lot about skills, basically. You talked about skills. If we cannot convert, or if our children cannot convert all that they are learning, all these skills, if they cannot convert it into something tangible, then there's really nothing happening. Wendy talked about the same thing yesterday, and she said we should focus on habits that last and skills that can be transformed. So basically, we're saying the same thing. We're converting the skills, we're teaching them skills that they can convert, skills that they can transform. And when Alu was talking earlier on today, she said, at that foundation stage that is very, very key, you are looking at milestones and you're looking at progress. So you see, when schools send reports and the report is saying the child is emerging, or the child is is emerging, or he has surpassed, he has emerged, or he has surpassed, and all of that. Parents are there and they're like, they want to see the child got 80 over 100. this is the problem, because we're still operating from some fixed mindset. I said it in one of my posts yesterday. Today, don't sit down here and be bringing up your child for a life or a world that does not exist anymore. I mean, the world, it doesn't exist anymore. So all these all these your 80 and 100 and 20 over whatever, it's not necessary anymore. We're not saying that skills that go on in school are not very important. They're very important, right? I've forgotten how you called it. You call them additional skills, or basically that they're important, as in what you call the academics and everything, very important skills. But they don't stand alone anymore. They don't stand alone anymore. These other skills are very important, and they go together. They go together, and it's painful because we still don't see it, even as millennials. That's why it's painful. I mean, a lot of us as parents right now are not that old even. I mean, we're talking about people in their 30s and early 40s, and we're already thinking like our thinking like our 70-year-old mothers. In fact, so it's painful because at the end of the day, we don't end up equipping these children for the world that is ahead of them. So we won't be there someday, and what we have done is we have just prepared our children to go and struggle. So they'll be struggling, as you said. I mean, the biggest challenge we have these days is mental health. You know, it's mental health. We drill these children, they give us the outcomes that we want to see. And then we walk away, and they have to deal with mental health issues for the rest of their lives. Really, really very sad. Really very sad. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm going to look through the comments. There's been a lot of comments. People are raving here. People are saying, someone said boss of life. Some people did not even put their names here, so I can't even see. They didn't allow StreamYard show us their name. Somebody said primary education is very key, and that's one. You see how you're saying now that the foundation is key, primary education is key, but that happens to be the time that we don't even bother with at all. The point where our children, at that point where they are infants to when they are 3, that's when we are away all the time. That's where they are with nannies all the time, because in our head, the child doesn't know anything. Yeah, the child doesn't know anything. And then when we take them to centers, even just as our previous speaker said, we drop them in centers where there are no goals. The children just come in, chase to eat food. They'll run around. We just go there, we see what do you call it, where they will sleep. So for some parents, let me see the toilet. You go, you look at the toilet, beautiful. Where can they sleep? You know, when they're tired. You look, okay, we don't share the bed with somebody else. No, they won't share the bed. And that's it. And we go, we don't ask anything more, because as far as we're concerned, we just need to drop them off somewhere and then pick them when we are done. So we are not even thinking of outcomes. We're not even thinking of the fact that this point in their lives is very crucial. So we just drop them for dropping sake, and then pick them just because we're conscious about one thing, that they are safe. Do you understand? That they are safe. So it's not like our intentions are not good as parents, but our intentions are too myopic, or they're too, they're not broad, they're not holistic. So we pay attention to one or two few things, and that's it. So these other areas in the child's life just end up suffering. They end up suffering, and the educators that should help us, bridge the gap, we don't put them in the hands of the right people. So at the end of the day, they're not getting what they need to get from us. They're not getting what they need to get from those that we say are educating them. So it's really, really very sad. Okay, someone still complained about the audio. Okay, I'm hoping but I could hear you well. Afterwards, you still had a bit of it, but I could hear you well. So let me check on Facebook if there are any questions. Okay, children need to know originality. Originality is very key, very key. So I was talking, was it today or yesterday? Yesterday during the sex session, I was telling them how the kids, I picked Kamsi and one of his friends from school yesterday, and they were telling me about the conversation you had with them. So his friend was very upset, like that he was really disgusted at some point. You know, oh, sorry guys, I was talking about my son's head of school yesterday. There she is. She's the one that was having the conversation with the kids. We had like 5 minutes talking about it yesterday in the first second session. Yes. So they're telling me about, and he was like, you were just saying, you were calling the things by their name. I said, what's the thing? What are the things you're calling by their name? And it's like, like, I'm like, no, what are the things she was calling by name? Like the private part. She could have said maybe private part. I'm like, okay, your eyes, when you're talking about your eyes, do you say that thing that sees, or you actually call it by its name? So if you can call your eyes by its name, then you should call that penis or the vagina by its name. So there's no shaming anywhere. No. You know, so this is like this is pastoral care. This is going beyond, I mean, above and beyond, going beyond just math and English. I mean, for a child that probably hasn't had the parents start this conversation, at least this conversation is being started with, I mean, from somewhere, from an adult that is trusted. Because sometimes when we don't open this gap and we don't have these conversations, they get it from somewhere else, and they get it from sources that we cannot be sure of. And it's not just about the sex conversation, it's about a lot of things. It's about their mental health. If we don't have that communication channel where they can talk to us, I mean, I heard you talk connection. If they cannot connect, it means they will take their mental health issues, or they will take the things that bother them to their friends and to people who listen to them. Absolutely. Right. So I hear you say clearly, I mean, for you to parent the Gen Z or Alpha generation child, you need to deal with foundations. You need to listen to them. You need to teach them skills, especially skills that can be converted. Thank you so much, Mrs. Oyenuga. Thank you, Ronke.
You're welcome.
This is a lot of value here. So we have this video. We're just going to move it to the YouTube channel, and you can catch the replay. Invite your friends to go catch the replay in the YouTube, on our YouTube channel. I can't see questions here. I think you dealt with everything. They don't even have questions to ask. You dealt with everything. There are no questions. I can't see any. Communication is key. Okay, so I can't see any questions. So we would just okay, it's 5 o'clock. We're supposed to have a session at 5. So we'll just any last word, please? Any last word? Any last word?
So last words would be we to work well with this children and to guide them right. We can't do it all alone.
Yeah.
We need to stay informed, and we need God to really guide us. And so we need to pray for direction. Because our seat of wisdom is not sufficient. We need God to lead us as well, to lead this children.
Thank you so much once more, Mr. Yenuga. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sis. Thank you for having me.
Sharing your knowledge with us. We do not take it for granted. Have a lovely evening, ma'am.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, thank you for everyone who joined us. Okay, ZOB is coming on in the next few minutes. ZOB is a homeschooling mom, right? So, Mr. Yenuga has talked a lot, Ronke has talked a lot about the home and the school being on the same plane if we're going to reach our children. So it simply means that education and homeschooling are two things that are channeled towards one goal. So let's hear from ZOB what we can do with our children at home that is tied to educating them. Okay, so do not go away. I'll go out of the studio and we'll come right back and we can continue with our third session. All right, people, thank you for joining. Have a lovely, lovely, lovely few minutes before we get back. All right, then, bye.